All right, all right, all right. We are live and we're getting ready to take off here. Let me get let me get this turned around here and then we'll get started. Boom, there we go. So if you're jumping on here live, get ready to get started with my topic, which is job costing. I just dropped a video today. If you haven't watched it, you can go watch it in my profile. But we're talking about job costing, why this is so important, the different types of job costing. Really going to deep dive into job costing because this is super critical to your business. And I don't really care what business you're in. I mean, we're talking about contracting businesses here. If you're not a contractor, more than welcome to stay, but it may not make sense or be that value added. But if you're a business owner, this can actually also help you, even if you're not a contractor, because this is the thing. This is the most important thing you can do in your business. So I'm just getting set up here so I can see the comments a little bit better, and then we'll be able to go on. I see somebody join on Facebook, said, "Sup, Brad." I can't see your name. You'd have to click on that link above the video so I can see what your name is. Otherwise, I have no idea who you are. Limitations of technology. So let's get going. Before we get started, I always like to ask, in my videos and my calls and stuff that I do within my coaching program, I always like to start with some wins. So if you're on TikTok, Facebook, just drop some wins in the comments, guys. Like what's going good for you this week, today, last week. I mean, what's going on? Give me some wins that are happening right now in your business. That way we can just see that other people are winning, especially if we're not winning currently, right? If we're in a winter in the season, not physically, but metaphorically, if we're going through a winter, or personally, if we're going through a winter, it's nice to see other people winning as a pick me up. So before we get going too heavy into this, drop some wins in the comments. I want to hear what you guys are doing in your business. So, all right, let's get going. Job costing. I dropped 5 videos today on TikTok, and these were all from my podcast that I did, episode number 85, the 5 biggest mistakes that I made in my contracting business. Um, Somebody said sold a job today. Awesome. I don't know who you are because you have to click on that link, guys, because I don't know who you are, but I'll throw it in the comments there. Um, Episode number 85 from the Hammer and Grind podcast. If you haven't listened to my podcast at all, it's a pretty good podcast, I think. So we focus mainly on the contracting industry. I try to have experts come on as well. I have some people lined up to come on that are going to be, I think, add a lot of value to the contracting space. These are experts in their own field. So I am excited about that. Kevin, thanks. Appreciate it. Plumbing tips. What's going on? Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here. So back to the episode 85, the 5 biggest mistakes I made in my contracting business. Number 2 is what we're talking about today. The second biggest mistake that I made was not job costing. Now, if you don't know what job costing is, it's simply looking at the job at the end of the job and seeing where everything pans out. Now, that being said, if you're a contractor who does large jobs, like maybe you're a home builder, maybe you do, multi-million dollar projects, or maybe you just do things that take 3-4 months long, right? Or 2 months long, where it's multiple weeks and months of a project, you're going to want a job cost during the project as well. Okay. Now you can decide how frequent that is. Is it, weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Is it once a month? Whatever. But you should be job costing along the way if you're doing long projects. Because if you wait, let's say you do big government contracts and they're 6 months long. I mean, if you wait till the end of the 6 months, I mean, hell, you may have blew past your profits halfway through and not even realize that you're paying overtime out all the time because you're trying to get this job done. and you're just eating up all of your labor time, right? So it's important if you're doing big projects to job cost during the project. Now, for most of us, I would say if your project's less than a month long or somewhere around there, you can just get by with doing it at the end of the project. There's no downside to doing it during the project, no matter how long the project is, right? If it's even if it's a week project, there's no downside to doing it, during that week. However, it's definitely a downside if you're doing long projects not to do it during the project. So, what is it? It's job costing. You simply, when the job's done or during the job, you look at it and say, okay, I bid this much labor. How are we doing? Right? I bid 40 man hours. The job's done. 40 man hours for one person. Maybe you're a one man, maybe you're just a single operator. You work by yourself. I bid a job for 40 hours. At the end of 40 hours or at the end of the job, I look and say, okay, I put 40 hours in. How many hours do I had? Oh, I had 55 hours. Well, that's a problem. I was 15 hours over on my time. And then you simply ask this question, what went wrong? I know this sounds like earth-shattering, top secret stuff that we're talking about. Shh, don't tell anybody. But no, seriously, guys, it's very basic stuff. It doesn't have to be this, super sexy thing that's the secret. It's literally looking at the job and saying what went wrong. And you go back and you look and you say, okay, I bid it for 40 and it was 55 hours. So what happened? And you go back and say, well, uh, I had to go to the store 4 times because I ran out of materials, and those are an hour each time. So that's 4 hours right there on top. And then, I bid doing this one type of part of the project, like say demo. I figured demo I could get it done in 8 hours, and that took 12 hours. Well, that's another 4 hours right there. And so you just start tearing it apart, like literally piece by piece, tearing apart your job to figure out what went wrong and what went right. Maybe you bid it for 40 hours, got it done in 35 hours. What do we do right? I mean, because can we replicate that? Can we? Is it something that just happened where we got lucky, or is that the norm? And I'm just overbidding, right? If you're overbidding all the time, if you're always coming under on your labor, I mean, it's not a bad thing to overbid in terms of having more profit, but you may not want to overbid especially if you're doing you're competing on a very tight budget for a job. If you're doing like commercial work or you're doing government stuff, you get pretty low profit margins, but you don't want to bid a job for 60 hours and it only takes 30 hours because you're just going to be way over everybody else, right? So you look at it and say, what went right? What went wrong? Then you look at the materials. What went right? What went wrong? I bid the job for $1,500 materials. We came back at $2,500. Holy cow, it's $1,000 over. What happened? Well, I missed a line item when I was estimating, or I missed something when I was doing takeoffs. Just totally, spaced out and forgot to include I don't know. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. All the lumber for the headers. You're framing out a house or you're framing out a garage or something smaller like that, and you just totally forgot to include all of the lumber for the headers. There's a bunch of doors in there. Maybe you're doing an office build out and there's like 25 doors in there and you totally forgot to include extra lumber for the headers. So you had to go buy all this stuff. There's literally millions of things that could go wrong on a job, and you need to start tracking this stuff. Because if you do a job, and let's stick in with the commercial theme, if you're doing a build out and you forget the headers, what can you do to solve that problem so it doesn't happen next time? Well, maybe you create a checklist, a material, ordering checklist. When I do this project, when I do X project, a commercial retail build out, I create a material checklist that simply says, this, and this, 2x4s, drywall, whatever, screws, trim, windows, doors, joist, all the things that you may need, you include it on a checklist. And then when you're doing the actual estimate next time, you just go through that checklist. The job costing is a window into opportunity, right? It's a window to improvement in your business. It will show you where all the leaks in your boat are. If I gave you a boat and I said, hey, I want you to sail from America to England, right? And you're like, awesome, thank you. And you set out on this sailboat, and there's 15 holes in that boat that you don't know about because it's not your boat. I just gave you the boat. You trusted that it was, in what will they say? Tip top shape, whatever, ship shape. Um, and you go out there and it starts sinking on you. You're like, what the hell? Why is the boat sinking? I don't know. I'll just keep going. Maybe if I go faster, it'll let the water come out, and you just keep going and going. Meanwhile, the boat's sinking and you have no idea because you don't know where the holes are in your ship. That's what job costing allows you to do, is find out where the holes are in your ship. I've seen a couple comments come in. Yeah, plumbing tip says, I've actually been thinking about making general checklists and material price lists for certain jobs. I would 100%. This is also why it's why you shouldn't have multiple services. That was, I believe, that was number 3. Yeah, mistake number 3 that I did was trying to do too many different things, because every service that you offer, you have to have an entire set of checklists, entire set of SOPs, entire set of tools, entire set of skill sets. It's just too much, right? Your job costing will also help to show that. If let's say you do 3 different services, 3 different core services, maybe you do roofing, siding, and gutters. Okay. That's a common combination for people that do roofing and exterior uh, improvement. If you job cost those, you can start to see which jobs are more profitable. You can also start to see, like, well, I sell a lot more roofing jobs than I do gutter jobs, but the gutter jobs are more profitable than the roofing jobs. Now, whether that's true doesn't matter. I'm just using that as an example. But you can start to see which services that you offer are more profitable. And then you can actually start selling more of those jobs, right? Because why do we want to do jobs that aren't profitable when we could be doing jobs that are profitable or more profitable, right? So here's what job costing in a nutshell did for me. Is it really opened my eyes to realizing how much money I was losing, not from a not bidding it correctly standpoint, but simply from a production standpoint. I was bidding jobs at I did a master bathroom suite, and I bid it. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but it was like, I think I had 150 man hours figured. It was like a whole suite, knocking down walls, adding. I mean, it was a pretty big project. I think I had 150 man hours or somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact number. But when the project was done, I had I was short almost 100 man hours, like 80 something man hours. I was short. In other words, I went over 80 man hours on the project. Now, here's what's interesting about that project. I bid it pretty high. Okay. But this project happened like literally the week we were supposed to start this project is the week that they announced the shutdowns for COVID. And what happened was, my lead guy at the time was in the National Guard and he got activated. So I lost my lead guy. And then I had a subcontractor who I had used he was a firefighter, full-time firefighter, but on his days off, he had a contracting license. So I would use him as a subcontractor, use it sometimes as general labor. Sometimes I would send him out to do his own jobs, whatever. But when I bid this job, I had figured on 5 people, or 4 people rather, every day, or 3 of us every day, and then the one subcontractor a couple days a week. I had factored on us doing all that. And then when COVID happened, I lost 2 of my 4. And so my workforce got cut in half. And so now, in terms of working, we became very unproductive, right? Because now I don't have the people to work while I go get materials and stuff like that. And it was simply because of a labor shortage problem that happened, as well as some things that I missed. We had to open up a load bearing wall, and I thought that the load bearing wall was directly, or the wall was directly over the stem wall and the foundation. It wasn't. It was offset, and where the post was coming down for the wall was going to land middle of a floor joist span. And so I had to do a bunch of extra work that I missed. Why am I telling you all this? Because the bigger the project, the more opportunities there are for errors. And if you don't track this stuff, you're going to miss it. And then if you do the same job again, if I did a job and I was 100 man hours over, and I sold, and I was like, oh, I did awesome on this job, and I didn't job cost it. And then I turn around and I sold the exact same job again. And every time I sold it, I was going to be 100 man hours over. That would not be very good business, right? It just wouldn't be. So if you're not job costing every single job, you're missing out on all these opportunities. I'll get back to you in a second, Zach Bars, Agilia, however you say your name. I'll get back to that question in a second. So if this is where it's important, you can look at production. Hey, you go to your production team. Hey, John, I had 50 man hours figuring on this job. We were at 60. What happened? Well, what happened was every time when you bid painting, installing doors, you always include painting, because we do painting as well. We do carpentry and painting. Maybe that's what you do. And so you do a job where there's like 10 doors to install, and you only factor 5 hours per door, including painting. That's just what you bid. And you go to your lead guy, and he says, well, every time we do doors, you give us 5 hours to install and paint, but we can't do that. That's not possible. We can install it in 4 hours, but we can't paint it in 1 hour. So realistically, we need 6 hours per door. So every door it's taking us an hour longer to finish it. Now I'm just making up stuff here, guys. Don't like sending me messages. Oh, if it takes 6 hours to do that, you're suck. No, I'm just making up stuff here, right? I'm trying to relate across all different industries. The point is, you look at it and say, oh, I didn't know that. And so now you have a conversation with your lead guy, and he says, we really need 6 hours. Every time we do a door, we need 6 hours. We do good. Everything else is good. Like when we're installing trim and crown, we're good on numbers. If we paint walls and rooms, we're good. It's just on the doors. Whenever we bid doors, we're always an hour short. So what does that tell me? That tells me I have to start bidding doors and add an extra hour if we're doing that, if we're doing the install and painting, right? So those are just examples of what job costing will show you whenever you do it. Did the office staff, maybe you have an office staff, did they do their job? Maybe you have an estimator, maybe you have a salesman, you have a sales guy, whatever it might be. Did each person on the team do their job? And what were the hiccups? I remember doing a job one time, and this is right after I started doing job costing. Like, it was probably within the first 5 jobs of job costing. And I had been in business for years, and this was the first time that I realized this. And this is to add to the point that you need to do job costing. We did a job one time, and it was like 30 minutes away, like 30 minutes out of town, and 40 minutes to the closest Lowe's. Okay. So every time you go to Lowe's, it's at least 30 minutes there, 15, 20 minutes in the store, 30 minutes back. Call it an hour and a half each trip to the store. The job gets done. I start job costing, and whenever we go to the store and collect materials, we would just take the receipts. And this is before I figured this stuff out, and before I changed my the software that I was using. I was doing it manually. So I just take the receipts and then I have to like put them in the QuickBooks. But I would take the receipts and I wouldn't do anything with them until the end of the job. And so I got down to the job. I started job costing. I started adding up all the receipts for the materials to see how I did. I look at it. I had 25 receipts from Lowe's. 25. Now I'm not very good at math, but that's 37 and a half hours. If 1.5 hours per trip on average, 25 trips to the store, that's 37 and a half hours just going to the store on one job. And what does that tell you? Throw in the comments. This is required activity. Throw it in the comments. What does that tell you if you job cost and you're making 25 trips to the store? What does that tell you? What kind of intel would that give you about your business, about your team, about your process? Like, what would that tell you? Throw it in the comments. And while you're putting it in the comments, I'm going to go back and look at the questions here. But I want to hear from you guys. Yeah, somebody said you're paying people to go shopping. That's true, but what does that tell you about your processes? Okay, you're not counting your time. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm not factoring in going to the store. That's definitely one thing. What else? Piss poor planning. Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Could be. What else? Yeah, wasted a whole week for sure, Raphael. Poor job planning, lower profit. Yeah. You're not organized. Somebody else said you're not organized. Yeah. Could be. What else could it be? I mean, these are all potentials and good stuff. What else could it be though? Anybody else have any other thoughts on what it could be, what that's telling you? If you got 25 trips going to the store and you wasted 37 and a half hours a week of your time going to the stores. Delivery instead. Yeah. Yep. Could be. Team needs to step up. That's very possible. Yeah. So I didn't tell you guys like the main thing that we were going to the store for. And I now did this on purpose. But the main thing that we were going to the store to get was plumbing stuff. It wasn't all plumbing, but the majority of the receipts that we were going to get was plumbing related things because we were doing a bathroom remodel. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a basement remodel that had a bathroom in it. But what else does that tell you? Now that I gave you that information. Now we're not plumbers, by the way. We're remodelers, which we do minor plumbing, sure. But what does it tell you if we're not plumbers and most of the stuff we're going to get is plumbing related stuff? Yeah, wood warlock, you buy 2 and then realize you needed 3, 100%. That's definitely one thing. Yeah, somebody user 835, whoever you are, said sub it out. That's what I'm going after on that. We were performing a part of the job that we were not really set up to do. We were trying to act like plumbers. And it wasn't that we didn't have necessarily the skills. We just don't have vehicles set up to do that type of repair, right? So if you're doing like a repair on a supply line, if you're not a plumber, you're not keeping copper, you're not keeping pipe, you're not keeping fittings, you're not keeping half of the stuff that you need as a plumber, right? There's a whole reason why plumbers have entire vehicles stocked full of crap. And so you can look at that and say, yes, I'm saving money on labor. I'm paying my guys 20, 25, 30 bucks an hour, or whatever it is, versus a plumber 100 bucks an hour or 150 bucks an hour, whatever they charge. But it's taken us 3 times as long to do the job. So that's really a wash in terms of labor costs. Plus, we have to go to the store 18 times because 18 to 25 times because we don't know what we need. We get into the job, we get so far in, we're like, oh, we need these fittings. We got to replace this supply line, whatever it is. And we need these fittings. Well, I can't go any further. I better go buy them. I go to the store and I buy these fittings. I buy two and I realize I need three. Or I buy two, I buy two angle stops because I'm putting angle stops on. And then I realized that one of the stops was actually an inline stop that just got put in the wrong bin. That's never happened to anybody, has it? Where the wrong parts in the wrong bin at the store. Surely I'm the only one that ever happens to. And you buy two of them and you don't check it and you get all the way back to the house and you open the bag up and it's a freaking inline when you needed an angle stop. What do you got to do now? Well, you can't finish. Now you got to go back to the store again and buy the angle stop. It's just that stuff starts to show when you're doing job costing and you're looking at what's going on and you're saying, okay, this is we need to find a good plumber and just sub it out. That's it. Right? This cost me 37 man hours. Who knows how much other stuff wasted in unproductive time. Like we got to fix this. So just by doing job costing, you start to see your strengths and weaknesses in your business. You can start to look at production times. Maybe you have 3 employees and all 3 of them are, they say that they can paint, right? Maybe you do remodeling and 3 of your employees say that they're good painters and maybe they do good work, but you start looking at production hours and you realize that, Mike and Chris, it takes them on average 8 hours to paint a room, but Steven, it takes him 15 hours on average to paint the same room. Well, his production rate's is nowhere close to the other 2. So now maybe instead of having Steven doing painting, maybe he needs to focus on something else, right? Whatever he's good at. So Ace for Construction said change orders, supply houses instead of Home Depot and Lowe's. Yeah, for sure. Those are all things that you can do. I mean, change orders if it wasn't something you planned. Absolutely. I wouldn't do change orders because I missed something. Like I just straight up missed something. Oh, hey, Mr. Customer, I sucked at estimating, so I'm gonna have to charge you an extra $2,000 to fix this. Like I wouldn't do that. Maybe you guys do. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, I wouldn't do that. But if it's something you open a wall up, it's like, holy crap, we're gonna have to replace all this plumbing. That's a change order, right? Getting a plumber there, or if you're going to do it yourself, putting a change order together, they sign off on it, pay you the change order amount, and you move forward. But what I'm talking about is inefficiencies in your team that come about from doing job costing. If I had never job costed that job, I wouldn't have known that we went to the store 25 times. I wouldn't have known necessarily that it was the plumbing thing that was killing us. And maybe it's maybe it's stuff that you come across. Maybe when you job cost every job, 50% of the jobs that you do, there's one thing that you always need. There's one part that you always need. So what could you do then? Now it's telling you that maybe it'd be worth stocking this one thing on our vehicles because 50% of the time we do a job, we need it. And so we're always having to go to the store. So 50% of the jobs we do, we have extra trips to the store to get this thing. Or maybe you need to factor it into your bid so that you need to have extra time for picking up materials. And unless you're doing something very niche, very specific, like if all you do is epoxy garage floors, like you pretty much know what materials you're going to need. You're probably not running to the store on a regular basis to get things. But if you're doing remodeling or if you're doing larger projects, if you're doing like large construction, like tearing down walls, whatever, like there's going to be inevitably, you're going to have to make probably some trips to the store. But what else could you do with the store trips, right? And I've told my guys this. I'd say, okay, if you run into a problem, you need parts, right? I get to problem X, I need parts for that problem. I don't just stop what I'm doing and run to the store and get it. I see what else I can work on. Okay, we're at a standstill here. Let's move over here and see what we can do. Maybe we can work on this one. Maybe that gets us through the end of the day, right? And so we're not wasting midday to go to the store. We can do it on the way home because we're going to drive right by the store on the way home. Now we can maximize our time going to the store. Things like that. Again, if you don't job cost, you're not going to know these things. Got a couple more questions. Comments. Definitely need to realize people's strengths and weaknesses and utilize accordingly. Yeah, absolutely. But you don't know that unless you job cost, right? Unless you look at your team and see. Buy in bulk, reuse and recycle. Absolutely. My philosophy, especially with like trim, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times you're doing a job and you need like, oh, we're gonna have to, you thought you were gonna be able to save this casing on a door, you're gonna reuse it. Turns out you can't reuse it. You need to go to the store and buy a new casing. No big deal. It happens. You go to the store, you buy 3 pieces of casing that you need to do the door. You go back, you cut one wrong, you're screwed. You got to go back to the store and get one more piece of casing because you cut it too short. So, what I told my guys, and I got in the habit of doing, is like, if you're going to go buy 3 of something, just go ahead and buy 4. If you're going to buy 5, buy 6 or whatever. If you're going to buy 20 of something, might as well get 25 because we can always take things back if we need to. I'd rather make one trip back to the store to return everything if that's what I need to do than make 5 trips to the store because we kept shorting ourselves by trying to buy the exact amount. Sometimes when you try to be efficient, you actually shoot yourself in the foot because you don't want to be inefficient. So you know what I mean? Like I had this problem, whereas I am very conscious of my customer's budget. I don't go in assuming that they have an unlimited budget. And if I need to, if I need 3 pieces of OSB, I just go buy 10 and, charge them for it. And who gives a crap? Throw 7 of them in the dumpster if we don't use them. That's not me. Like I'm not going to just waste customers' money to make my job easier. Now I am going to order extra, right? Especially if you're doing like tile, you're going to have waste. Of course, you got to order for waste, but I'm not just going to get crazy and just go overboard and just charge them an obscene amount of money just so that way I can order a bunch of extra. And then maybe, if I need 10 sheets of OSB, I don't order 20 and then keep 10 for myself because I know I'm going to be building a house in 2 years. And I just keep, charging every customer so I get the material. Like that's just not how I operate. Do we have extra stuff left over? All the time. All the time. Bunch of questions coming in here. Always add 20% on any job that's not your typical job. That's a good suggestion. Because I've heard the saying, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's like the first time you do something, you're basically paying for the education to learn how to do it, right? So yeah, put 20% on there, and that may not even be enough if it's the first time you do it. When I first started, when I first got started, I started out as a handyman because I was just a one-man show. I only had small tools and a truck and $1,000, so that's all I could get started in. And one of the services that I offered early on was assembly services like swing sets, wooden swing sets, stuff you buy at Sam's or you buy online, like big wooden swing sets. And the very first one that I did from Sam's, I had 2 helpers, myself and 2 helpers. It's the first time we ever put it together, and it took 2 days, 2 full days to put it together. By the time I got done, it was 2 full days. It was 2.5 days, actually. It was 2 full days with 2 helpers, and then the half day was by myself. I might have had 1 helper. By the time I had done half a dozen of those, 3 of us could knock it out in a 9-hour day. Like we could go in there and bust it out in 9 hours, like literally cut the labor in half. And that was just from experience. So you're going to have that when you do new stuff. So yeah, add extra. Red Frock says, I always end up doing the plumbing so I can control the timelines. Can't schedule plumber for 4 weeks. that happens. Now, obviously, it depends on your town, like what you can legally do with your license. But if you are going to do that, which we did that a lot, like minor stuff. I mean, we didn't do major, plumbing stuff. But if it was just like replacing a faucet or something, if we were putting a new vanity in, all we had to do was throw a new faucet on there. We'd do that ourselves, or set the toilet. We just do that ourselves. But if I was going to put in a shower valve or move plumbing, I'd always have my plumber do it. But if you know you're going to be doing that stuff, you keep some of those supplies in your vehicle. So in my van, I had extra plumbing supplies. My rule was 80%. I tried to keep the material wise stock. I would try to keep stock on my vehicle that would allow me to accomplish 80% of the things that I would run across. So in other words, I wasn't trying to stock it for everything. I'd need to have like a school bus, basically to stock every possible scenario. But if I would, I could keep one extra angle stop or two extra angle stops, or I could keep a couple scutcheons in there, or I can keep, some minor electrical, maybe one white switch and one white receptacle, 15 amp receptacle, and one ivory switch and one ivory. Just enough so that if you get into a bind, oh crap, we gotta swap out this receptacle because they're going from ivory to white. I don't want to call an electrician out there just to swap out the receptacle. I have one on my vehicle. I can just do that. So that was how we did things, was just kept the bare minimum to keep the job going. So we didn't have to stop for a sub or to run to the store. But again, you have to job cost, or you're not going to know these things. You're going to forget them. You do a job today, 3 months from now, maybe you don't do that exact same job until 3 months from now. You've forgotten everything that went wrong on that job. You forgot that you needed this and forgot that you needed that. But if you job cost it, now you have a history, you have a record. So if I sell a job in 3 months that I haven't done, I can go back to that job and look at it and say, oh yeah. I remember now. Or I literally have notes in there that say, yeah, on this job, we didn't factor this in, or next time we do this, make sure we factor this stuff in or add this or whatever. So it's a history, it's a record of all your jobs. One of the things that we would do, I would build decks. I freaking hate doing decks, but we would build decks. But one of the problems with decks is that I didn't do very many of them, but I would only do like one to three a year. And so a lot of times it would be almost an entire year before I would build a deck again. And I'd almost have to like remember how to build the damn deck. I get there like, how do you okay, how do we build a deck again? Oh yeah, we gotta do this. 6, 8, 10, blah, 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 figure all this stuff out. But the production was way low because it had been so long. Or I didn't factor in this or factor in that. But I could go back and look at my job costing report, say, okay, last time I bid this 12 by 12, 30-inch off the ground deck, and I bid it for 60 man hours, and it took us 75 man hours. So I need to add an extra 15 man hours just to make sure that we're covered there. No job cost, none of that stuff's known. It's so important, the job cost. And I know what it's like when you're busy, when you're a one-man show, when you have a team and you're still busy as can be. I know what it's like to not have time, quote, time to do it because you're so busy. I'm telling you, you have to do it. You have to make time. And if you develop a system, it becomes really easy to do it. That's why I have my job costing worksheet. That's why I created that job costing worksheet. It's free. If you guys don't know anything about it, you can go to on TikTok, you can go to my bio. There's a link right there. You can download my job costing worksheet. It's completely free. And you got to put your email in. That's the cost of it, is I get your email so I can spam you with all kinds of stuff. No, I'm not going to spam you guys. I'll send you some marketing things that I think are important, but I think it's worth the cost of an email. If you're on Facebook, you guys have access to it in the Facebook group. And by the way, if you're on TikTok and you don't know about my free Facebook group, you should. It's called the Contractor Profit Blueprint. Again, that's in my bio. The TikTokers, everything that I have available is in the bio. It's in my profile. There's links to it in there, so you can find access to that stuff. We got some more questions that came in. Red Fox, I can't guarantee that the work will be ready for the plumber, or I can't wait for a plumber. Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. When doing remodels after the design phase, I draft a Gantt chart and give myself an extra day per. Yeah, those are things that you figure out, right? Nobody on this call, myself included, like day one, you start a construction company and now you know this stuff. It just doesn't happen. You're going to have to do a job 5 or 6 times before you even realize like everything that goes into that job, right? But if you don't job cost it, it may take you 20 times to do that job. If you job cost it from day one, you may learn that stuff after the second or third job. The only wasted wire is short wire. That's an electrical reference. Phase. Wait a minute. I lost. There's a break in there. So that I have a buffer in case we fall behind a couple days. However, always schedule and confirm with all subs prior to starting any of the build phase. Yeah, that's just good scheduling, right? Acer Construction, when the customer provides materials, I'll tell you guys right now, it took me a long time to just finally say, no, you can't provide materials, because my system is based on my suppliers, my sales reps, my deliveries, all that stuff is my performance, my efficiencies, my quality, everything that I provide to you, the customer, is based on me controlling the outcome of everything. And as soon as you say, can I provide the materials, it throws a wrench in everything. Right now, that being said, some things I would let the customers buy, like towel bars. If we're doing bathroom remodels, go buy the towel bars. I really don't care. It's not really gonna affect me that much. Sometimes lighting, if you want vanity lights, have at it. I just need to know ahead of time if there's any special requirements for those lights. Those things I'm okay with, but if you want to go to Lowe's and buy the vanity, no, I ain't doing it. You want to buy the doors and trim and drywall so you can save on money? No, I'm not doing it. It's not an option. I don't care if you're going to pay me 5 times the amount of money that I'm asking for. It's not an option. It's not worth it. I've done it enough that it never works out, and it leaves a bad taste in the customer's mouth. And that's not worth it at all. But yeah, when I did plenty of jobs when customers provided materials, hundreds of jobs, and they don't always go bad. Don't get me wrong, but they do go bad a lot. Raphael says, "Got to thank you for today. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. I hope his lives are helpful for you guys." Red Fox, have acquired PEX, crumpets, and other associated components. I've missed the angle stop many times. Yeah, dude, this is the funny. This could be like the comedy hour for contractors. We've all, and I mentioned earlier, we've all gone to the store to get some stuff. You go to the bins, you grab the bins of stuff that you need. Usually it's plumbing or electrical, not so much trim and wood and stuff, lumber. But usually, like plumber, you go there to get an angle stop, and there's with a 1/4 inch, or I'm sorry, 3/8 stop on it, compression fitting, or whatever, 1/2 inch, it doesn't matter. And there's a wrong size. You need a 1/4 inch. There's a 3/8 in there, or a 3/8 and there's a 1/4, and they're wrong, right? They you don't check it. So you buy 2 stops. You look at the bag, you see there's 2 angle stops in there, but you don't actually look at it. And then you get to the job site, and one's a 1/4 inch and one's 3/8, and you're like, gosh damn it. Okay, from now on, every time I go to the store, I'm going to like religiously check the bags and make sure everything is correct in that bin. And you do that for the next 3 months. Every time you go to the store, you check religiously And every time you check, it's the correct one. And so you start to get complacent because it's maybe that was just a fluke. And then, a couple weeks later, you don't check it. And sure enough, that's when you get bit. Like, I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me. So a lot of that stuff, if you're doing that, it's better to order it and then check it when it comes in. But if you have to make those emergency runs to the store, I tell my guys always double check the freaking bag. And you can get to the point too where if you tell your guys a requirement, this is what you should do, and they don't do it, make them go back on their own time. I've done that before, where it's like, I've given you clear instructions, I've given you, clear penalties. This is what's going to happen. If you go to the store and you don't check the information before you leave, you're going to go back on your own time and take care of it. Now, there's been plenty of times where mistake was made, and I paid them. Like, they're like, I'll go back on my way home, and I'll say, no, it's fine. It was a mistake. We'll just take it back. You get paid for it. But sometimes when it's just pure negligence, they need to pay for it. They need to learn some lessons on that. Mark 8, I can't even say that. Mark 8, I don't even know how to say that, is a great software for job costs and CRM optimization. I've heard good things about it. It's not, I use Progil, by the way. If you guys are looking for a really good software to run your business with, Progil is the one that I recommend. You can send me a message. I can give you a discount code. You can get $100 off. I have a really good relationship with Progil, the head designer, the head programmer over there. He was actually on the podcast way back talking about it. So if you want to have a discount code for Progil to check it out, there's a 7-day trial and then $100 credit. Shoot me a message and I'll send you that code. But there's a lot of them out there. Clear Estimates is a pretty good one for sure. Cost Certified is another good one that's up and coming. And it seems like every day there's new ones that start up. Like almost daily there's a new software. But my favorite still and go-to is Progil. Projul, Derek. Projul. And I saw you said you joined the Facebook group. I'll have to look at that, man. Make sure you answer the questions. If you haven't answered the questions yet, make sure you go and answer the questions. That is a requirement. But I can send it to you in Facebook, is what I was trying to say. Raphael says you got to go. Thank you. You're welcome. New improved products and code. Yeah. BTA Brago, you're welcome. I hope it was go. That's my goal every time, is to bring you actual real information, not just bull crap, fake stuff that makes it seem like it's good so I can sell you a bunch of stuff. My goal with these lives and the content that I put out on TikTok is to bring you real tips and real actionable things that you can do in your business. It just so happens that I also have a coaching program. That's what I do, is I coach contractors. But that's not my purpose, is to like bait you into joining my stuff. I want to give you real information that is actionable, because if it works, then you're going to be like, man, this guy, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. So then when you're ready to step it up, when you're ready to take your business to the next level, you'll consider me as the option. Acer says, thank you for going live. You're welcome. Plumbing fixtures are okay, but all other material is from me. Plumbing tips. Yeah. I would imagine your plumbing tips. I mean, your name is Plumbing Tips. I would imagine you're providing the plumbing. That seems counterintuitive. It took me 3 years to understand not to allow the customers. Yeah, it took me a lot longer than that. CDA or CD and R, however you say that. It took me a lot longer, guys. A lot longer than 3 years. Please go further on the customer furnished materials, i.e. finishes and design. What do you mean go further? Can you elaborate on that? User 835, what you mean by that? The customer wants to use a cheap tile. Here's something about that. So I did my own tile. Now, I don't consider myself a professional tile setter. However, I'm pretty good at tile, and so I would do my own tile. I'm not efficient at it at all. Not efficient. Good, yes. Efficient, no. If I went up against a professional tile setter, they'd probably do the job in half the time, maybe even a third of the time, but the quality would be the same. And maybe I might even be just a tiny bit better on quality because I take my time. Anyways, I digress. What people don't realize, and some contractors know this, but a lot of customers don't. I use a tile distributor supplier. There's Louisville Tile was the main one where I'm at. There's Dow Tile. There was another one, but Louisville Tile was the main one that I used. And a lot of those tile companies all sell the exact same type of tile, the same brands, same look. But what most people don't realize is that the suppliers, let's say Florida Tile is a very popular tile manufacturer. The suppliers will get grade 1 tile, and your Lowe's and your Home Depots would get grade 2 or 3, meaning it was less quality, right? All of the good stuff would go to the top tier distributors, and then all of the seconds and thirds would go to Lowe's and Home Depot. So you could literally have the same looking tile, same brand, same color, same everything. Your distributor is going to, maybe $3 a square foot, and Lowe's might be $2.20 a square foot. And so the homeowner may be like, well, I can get it cheaper at Lowe's. Yeah, you can. It's also cheaper tile. So the quality of the install is going to be affected. A lot of people don't realize that. So again, I just told them, if you want to hire me, this is what we do. You will use the tile from my tile distributor. And if you go there and you don't like those options, then you go to the other tile distributor. But we're not going to Lowe's and Home Depot to buy all that crap. Right? I mean, it obviously depended on the job. If I was doing which I would never do, but just as an example, if somebody hired us to put a tiny little backsplash in a bathroom of an investment property, I'm probably going to Lowe's and buying the cheapest crap I can find, right? That's a little bit different scenario. But for the most part, they don't provide materials. You just have to stand your ground. You can't be afraid of losing jobs. Once you've done it long enough, and it's a lot easier to say when the phone's ringing off the hook and you're booked up for 6 months to a year, it's a lot easier to stand your ground, right? It's more difficult when the phone's not ringing off the hook and you need some work and you only got 3 weeks on the books and you're getting desperate and the customer calls you and says, "Hey, Brad, I want you to do the work, but I want to provide the materials." And you're like, "Not eat or eat." Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's okay. I can do that. I'll just do labor only. And then you get bit in the ass because they get you some cheap crap material. You install it, they're not happy. You got to go back out and redo something to make them happy, and then you just end up actually losing money because you didn't stand your ground. You have to stand your ground with your processes in your business. It is your business, guys. It's your business. It's not the customer's business. It's your business. You run it the way you want to, right? If you're doing something crazy that is just not what I would consider to be a normal, acceptable process or how you run your business, the market will let you know that. They'll let you know that by not hiring you, by giving you bad reviews. The market will let you know when you're just going way egregious on something that's not normal. But for the most part, it's all self-inflicted. All the crap and head trash that we talk about and we're scared about, it's all self-inflicted. 90% of it's self-inflicted. I just had a conversation today in our free group about somebody with charging for consultations, charging for estimates, and he's trying to convince me that it's not possible. It's not possible. If I did that, I'd have to work at Home Depot or whatever. It's just not possible. And I'm telling you, it's head trash. It's 100% head trash because I said the exact same thing for years. There's no way you can charge for consultations or estimates. It's not possible. I live in a smaller town. It's a good old boy network. Nobody's going to do that. You just don't understand. My situation's unique. My business is unique. I can see that working in a bigger city. It just doesn't work for me. Those are all things that I said. And then one day I finally got sick and tired of doing that. And I said, what do I have to lose by trying it? And I tried it and I didn't have any problems. I mean, within reason. I'm not saying everything went perfect, but I stopped doing free estimates after that. It's all head trash. It's all limiting beliefs, self-inflicted limiting beliefs. Let's see. Back to some customers. Then I got to hop off here, guys. We went a little bit longer today. I hope that answers your question on going further on customer furnished materials. The customer, yeah. How long have I been in business? C and D&R. I had my construction business for 12 years. I still own my construction business. However, I stopped operating it in January to do this full time. I've been doing this for 2 years or coming up on 2 years. Last year in business, I operated my construction business and I was doing my coaching business at the same time. And it almost killed me because it was just too much. It was too much. So I made the decision, along with my wife, we made the decision to do this full time. And that's where we're at because that's the direction I want to go based on our goals, our life goals, and where we're at. So, but I had my business for 12 years. I still own it technically. I'm actually like this week in the middle of negotiating somebody purchasing my business. I don't know if it's going to go through, but I do have someone interested in buying it. So I am in the process of exiting my construction business. MP 2021 said just joined. Check what now? I don't know what you mean by that, MP. Just joined what? And check what now? 1/4 inch or 3/8 pipe fittings. I don't know what you mean on that, bud. User says I'm baited. Me too. I'm not good. I'm good, not fast tile setter. Wood Warlock, it's about quality. Depot tile doesn't lay flat. Yeah, it's just because it's all second and third stuff. Makes your quality work so it looks, yeah, 100%. People don't understand that. What do you mean like the tile's at the same size? I'm telling you, it's not the same size. This one's 11 1/4. This one's 11 3/16. This one's 11 5/16. This one's 11 1/8. They're not the same size. Well, I don't understand. I bought them from the same. They're all from the same box. You buy cheap tile. That's what happens. And again, no, Mr. Customer, Miss Customer, no, you cannot buy tile from Lowe's. No, I will not install it. C&D says, I've been in business 10 years, on average 9-10 months out. If you're 9-10 months out, man, raise your prices. You're welcome on Insight. Mr. R3PS, small area and will be $3 to $500 estimates within 6 months of starting out. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, man. I may have missed something there. You're welcome. Yeah, some of the stuff cut up, and I'm not sure what you guys are saying. All right, guys, that's we're right at an hour. I typically go 45 minutes, but we had some good questions coming in. Do me a favor on TikTok before you leave. Just double tap the screen real quick. It just throws some likes up, and it helps to boost my showing rate for next time, so we can get some more people in. That would be the greatest thank you. Is just double tapping the screen. I appreciate it. You have a good night, guys. I will be back next Monday at the same time. I always forget to throw it up on TikTok, the little, live event thing. I'll try and do better with that. And I appreciate you all. And on Facebook, see you guys in the group too. And guys, if you need help, one last thing. I'm in the process of starting a new coaching program for sales only. So if you don't know anything about me, I have a coaching program. It's called the Profit Club. It's really foundational stuff for your business. We talk about sales, marketing, mindset, KPIs, systems. It's really like all of the foundational stuff about your business. However, a lot of people are only interested in sales. They don't want all of the other stuff. And I understand that. So, what I'm doing, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I will be launching a sales only coaching program. It'll be a much more affordable rate, because my goal with that is not really to my group coaching, my Profit Club is pretty expensive. Just going to be straight with you guys. It's pretty expensive because there's a ton of value there. Ton of value. The sales the sales program that I'll be launching is focused on sales to get you guys being more profitable, right? So that way, if you want to accelerate your business, then you may be interested in joining the Profit Club. But a lot of guys don't have the money available because they're not charging enough and they don't know how to charge enough. And so that's why I'm going to be launching my sales accelerator. It's called the Contractor Sales Accelerator. And so that's going to be focused on sales only. It's going to be very affordable for everyone. And I think you guys will like it. So make sure you are following me on somewhere, TikTok, Facebook, somewhere, so that when I launch this, you guys will have information that it's going live, because I will probably launch it with some discounts. And then as that goes on, it'll probably get more expensive in price. That's just the nature of how things work. So I just want you guys to know about it. Keep an eye out. Make sure you're following me. If this is the first time you've ever seen my content, make sure you like and follow me so you can get notified when that happens again. And the rest of you guys, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.